Welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars. My name is Colin.
I'm Star.
I'm Kat.
I'm Christian.
I'm Hunter.
And I'm the only Josh.
There you go. There you go.
Your name's not Shog?
Yeah, would it be Hassage?
Oh, no, that's what I was during the Mandalorian podcast.
Yes,
Oh.
yes. Yeah, he has a different name every week. But this week, for our breakdown of the Bad Batch, is for episode 14, The Tipping Point. And the name has a real meaning for this week because it really was the tipping point for the entire season. It's leading to the last two episodes. Seems like there's going to be a lot to break down. Unfortunately, I'm just going to talk about it right now. There was no Delta Squad cameo. I know we were all hoping it. But you know,
Yeah, Josh,
no,
Josh.
dude, come back.
he's gone.
But yeah, so there was no Delta Squad cameo, not even from Scorch, but you know, that might lead into Scorch probably hunting them down. And the no,
No,
hoping.
they're clearly going to them. He's not gonna have
yeah.
to go anywhere.
Yeah, but they're gonna have to fight him.
Yeah, they'll fight him.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
he'll show up.
I think the next episode will be that Avengers team up thing where they're like, hey, we got all the clones scattered across the galaxy. How about we go get them? So they'll go grab Cody, they'll go grab Wolf, they'll go grab a bunch of these other clones, obscure clones we've never seen before, which there were a lot of really cool clones that we've never met before in this episode,
Yes.
which we'll definitely talk about. But I think that's what it's leading up to. And then someone's gonna have to die. I'm just saying it right now. I'm just
You say someone. I'm pretty sure that someone is going to become plural.
okay, well.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't like to think about it.
Cody.
Well, with that being said, let's dive away from the depression into
More.
this
Into
episode.
more.
Yeah, into more depression.
And
So-
slightly less depression.
So the episode opens up on this really cloudy gray area that kind of feels like we're in the land of Mordor from Lord of the Rings. It's very dark and there's also these kind of creatures flying around like crows, kind of like what we saw in a couple episodes back. And we have clone commandos, again, not any of the Delta Squad, kind of walking around, and they're taking a couple of the clones, which most likely they're taking them to Mount Tantus.
Mhm.
And we see a clone that we haven't seen since last season. His name is Hauser. Yeah.
Would recognize that stylish hair anywhere.
I know.
How nice of the Empire to keep giving him haircuts.
I know.
Yeah. And like products to keep it slicked back.
That's
Yeah.
a great point.
Yeah, and they weren't even trying to escape. They didn't have any. They just didn't even look like they were trying. I think they kind of accepted defeat at that point. Is what it came off to me.
Mhm.
And the ship they're in that they're transporting is a ship that we see a lot in Star Wars Rebels. It is one of the ships that holds like the TIE fighters, and then the TIE fighters would launch. So that's cool that we're seeing that here in the early phase. I'm still waiting for TIE fighters.
Gazanti class cruiser.
There we go.
Dude,
And
I will
then-
take all the V-Wings we can before we get ties because I love V-Wings.
I miss arcs.
Yes.
I love the ARC 170s, and I think we barely saw them in the actual Clone Wars TV
Yeah, it
show.
was
Yeah,
weird.
we barely, because they were the arcs, like their utility was replaced with the torrent fighter, the like T
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
Which that was a really cool design, but yeah, no, miss the arcs.
Yeah. And then we have the ship is about to go into hyperspace, and then all of a sudden we have a other cool ship, which I don't think we've seen before. I mean, it looked familiar, but I don't think we've seen it before.
It kind of
And
has that generic freighter-y look.
yeah.
It's vaguely triangular with pods in the back.
And then we find out that the people commanding it are Echo and Gregor, and there's two other clones which we've never seen before.
Mhm.
and they look dope as hell.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they
look
do.
like green, but with 2 different shades of green for the shoulder
Yeah.
bells. Like one is
Yeah.
hunter green, one's like a muted tone.
So we're thinking that they were part of the 41st
I mean,
Rangers?
I don't think we have any reason to believe that they actually were part of the 41st,
Okay.
but just that they look very similar.
Yeah. And later in the episode, they say, like, good to see you again, Captain, to Hauser. So,
Yeah,
in
Uh-huh.
some capacity, they might be some of his guys.
Also, clones
That'd be
are
cool.
modifying their armor post
Yeah.
leaving the Empire. Gregor added yellow to his bracers. Echo now has phase 2 arc leg armor
Mm-hmm.
for some
Yeah.
reason, which
poor
is
Raimi.
poor
Poor
Raimi. He also doesn't. However, he doesn't have a COD armor. It's just the legs. Like it's like when
Yeah.
I'm getting like dressed for a troop. It's like halfway through and I'm just lounging around. That's what Echo's
Yeah.
doing.
He
now.
needed to
If-
sit
if-
down, and then he got in a rush and he forgot the rest of it.
I mean,
Yep.
no comma. Like just breathe. I'm not judging.
Winnie the Pooh in it.
Full poo bear.
So they take down the hyperdrive and they kind of take down the ship without taking down the ship because they're clones and they know exactly what to do in a situation like this. They start boarding and they take down a couple of the new stormtroopers and they free the clones that were imprisoned. And we do get the scene of where the 2 clones are like, it's good to see you again, Commander. And then we cut to the part where they're in the cockpit and we have the officer, is just standing there and they're asking him to kind of spill the beans and everything. And he
Mhm.
does, as what every Imperial has done when they're captured, and it's very similar to what Nazis used to do. And they bit into a capsule and then they would die, which we saw that in The Mandalorian season 2. We saw that in, I think in Rebels, maybe. I feel like we've seen that more than just that one spot, but we see this officer do it. He goes down, and they don't really find out where they were taking the where they actually were taking the other clones, but we know it's Mount Tantus. Like that's the obvious.
The
Where
first
else
time
would
we
it
saw
be?
that electrical 2 thing was Mandalorian season 2 on a Gazanti as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And-
Have we seen it in any other media?
We saw it then, and then we saw it earlier this season.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen it outside of that, to my knowledge. Also checked Fireball, one of the Green Boys on Wikipedia, is confirmed as a member of the 41st.
Oh, interesting.
There
Nice.
you go.
But,
So
like,
he was
When
on
and
Kashyyyk.
where was he
Uh,
confirmed?
They probably
When
don't
and where
have.
on Wikipedia, whenever Fireball was made, like a couple hours ago.
But like, do they
So,
list the sources down below?
Confirmed.
Let me check. Fireball. Clone. That's just a sick name.
All right.
He's dope.
So
I need that costume. I'm actually gonna build a helmet next week. So
Yeah, Fireball's
Do
the
it.
cooler
Nice.
one because he's like the blast scorching around the visor
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
instead of the vines.
Yeah.
So as Echo is trying to recover some of the information, they end up having a Star Destroyer pull out of hyperspace right in front of them, and you hear the beginning of the Imperial theme, but you don't hear it all the way through.
yeah. They cut off that last note, which was interesting.
Yeah. So that was very, very interesting, but that also makes sense because they're in that stage
Yeah,
after Order 66 where like the Empire is still slowly forming to what we see later on, like in Rogue One and
yeah.
stuff like that.
It's interesting too that it's like we see other stuff with the Empire's theme kind of baked into it, and it's just like but this they got like almost to the end, like they skipped the last note,
Yeah.
and it's almost like they're signifying, hey, the Empire is almost just totally in power.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to them cutting out of the planet, and they leave, and then they end up going into. They then cut over to Mount Tantus, and we kind of see Crosshair sitting there, and they're trying to find out where the Bad Batch is. It doesn't go to the doctor's plan, and then he's like, okay, well then I'll torture the information out of you. How did we feel about Crosshair and in this state?
I mean, okay, sorry, I have to immediately jump into this. But clearly, like he doesn't even seem to think about giving up the batch. Not that he knows where they are, but like he immediately is just like, nope. And I think that's completely consistent with the end of season 1, when he kills all his own men, and he's never really been in a spot like that he's gonna give up the batch to the Empire, and it doesn't seem like that's changed at all. So I was very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked his development here too. I think it continues along the same trend line as where he was at when he was brought to Mount Tantus at the end of 2 episodes ago. And just like Star said, he's always had this consistent underlying loyalty to the batch, even if it isn't directly obvious. And maybe that wasn't present at the beginning of season 1, like with the whole Star Destroyer thing. But definitely by the end of the season, or the end of the first season, you can see him start to fall into that, and he begins to realize, hey, they actually still really matter to me.
Yeah.
And that is still very, very obvious.
Yeah. And we then see him not comply, and then they're like, okay, I am gonna, I'm gonna make you, comply. So they bring in the torture droid from A New Hope, and it comes in, and we've never really seen it. I mean, I don't remember, actually seeing it like actually torture someone, but we see the needle go into the person's actually going to Crosshair's neck, and you kind of see him like kind of squeal. How do we feel about seeing that? Was it just like, oh, okay, like torture, woohoo? Or was
I don't think it was a
will
necessary
say-
shot, but it was fine.
Yeah.
I was looking off in the corner at the commando armor.
Okay. I
I
see. So, Colin, that was sad. I felt sad.
I'm
Sorry, I
actually
didn't.
kind of disagree with you here, Christian. Like, I almost felt like it was a necessary shot to really hammer home how expendable the Empire feels Crosshair is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that they already haven't, but I think that was a really important thing they kept hitting on during all the sequences of Crosshair, is that he's just a tool at this point, and they're ready to throw him away
It's
once
also
they
what
get what they need from him.
the third form of torture he's gone through from the Empire. He had the inhibitor chip being like
Yeah.
made worse. He had the assumed mind flayer last episode, and now this droid. So they're really putting him through the gauntlet,
Yeah.
and he still has yet to give up the badge.
And
Yeah. He's a tough dude.
it's
It's also
also
built.
it's also interesting how much of a not kid show this is. Like, I'm always shocked by it. I'm like, you're just going straight to torture. Like,
Yeah, there's some moments where like, oh,
Yeah.
it's the super kid friendly, and then
and you're like, no.
Every time
Oh,
Michael
yeah,
Jackson
riot
enters the
races.
room, it's just
Oh,
not
yeah.
kid friendly.
So after the torture scene, we end up going back to Coruscant, and I do want to say this because it's starting to feel like it, and I want you guys' opinion. But do we feel like Coruscant is becoming the new Tatooine? Because these past couple of like of these shows and different aspects of Star Wars, we've gone to Tatooine a lot.
No,
I
I
don't.
don't,
No.
because there's so much more on Coruscant than there is on Tatooine.
Okay. Okay.
Not just that, it's also it's emblematic that
Yeah.
the rescue
Mhm.
of the clone troopers is happening literally on the Empire's doorstep.
Right.
'Cause
Well-
it's not only here was the site of the birth of the Empire, it's also, hey, all those guys you're trying to kill, the people that put you in power, guess what? They're right here, and you don't know.
Yeah. And in respect to the other shows too, like The Mandalorian, like there's reasons for them to be back on Coruscant, with that being the political center, and it
Yeah.
makes sense that Pershing would be back there. We don't always have that with Tatooine, I guess. I mean, sometimes we do, but there's like not always as much of a reason to go back there as there is Coruscant. Like that's what I mean. Like there's more things that happen on Coruscant, like in universe. So in that way, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because the other thing is like we just went back to there in the Mandalorian, and then the new trilogy dropped for Jedi Survivor, and it's very clear that we're going to spend a decent amount of time on Coruscant in that game as well. So it just feels like we are going back to Coruscant a lot. Don't get me wrong, I love it. I just don't want it to turn into like the new Tatooine.
No, I'm kind of with Colin here. I mean, I get that it's the political center, and like obviously, like logically, there's more reason to go back there. But there's always been logically reason to go back there, and it does feel like it's a lot of Coruscant, and I like it. And it's not a complaint. It's
Yes,
we have had a lot of it.
I think it could get to that point for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and
I
just don't want
agree
to
that
happen.
it could be there. Yes.
I think
It's
it's
a
a
stark
question
change.
of how big the CGI budget became
Well-
for some shows.
I also wonder if it's because of the success of Andor, people have realized that people like political storylines. And so bringing in more politics into Star Wars seems to be something people like. And so maybe that just naturally follows with Coruscant.
I think we'll probably start seeing
Surprisingly.
the effects of Andor in the few years, though, because all these shows are in
That's true.
production at the same time.
That's true.
But I think as long as Coruscant, because there was always reasons to go back to Coruscant, but for some reason we never got it. Like especially in the sequel trilogy, it was really odd that we never saw Coruscant reappear, or even get like a lot of direct mentions to it. So I feel like it makes like thematic and story sense that we're going back there. It's just kind of odd that it feels like all the properties are going to it at the same time.
Mhm.
Right.
Like if they spread
Yes.
it between the properties, it would
Yeah.
it'd feel a lot more natural and feel a lot more
Yeah.
purposeful, rather than the new video game. 3 of the new shows are all going to
Yes.
Coruscant in some capacity.
That is what I'm talking about. Now, there are times where like it's like yes, like it 100% makes sense. For example, in spoilers, have you ever watched the new episode of Mando? But for Order 66, seeing of the speederback chase through like downtown Coruscant,
Yeah.
it honestly made sense to go there. And by the way,
Yes,
phenomenal.
it was
So
so cool.
happy for Ahmed Best to come back. I loved it. I jumped off the couch.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see him come
And
back.
the Lardy looked beautiful.
Yeah.
Dude, all the clones and the BART speeder with the sidecar.
I
So
still
good.
have. Yeah.
Is that
I-
your Indiana Jones reference? Is the fact that there was a sidecar?
yes. Yes. So if you think about it, in the Last Crusade, India. No, I'm just kidding. No, but
There's a second one. There's another reference in there.
Oh yeah, I know, but this week I'm going to hold back and I'm going to have someone else say them. So Christian, if you want to, you're more than welcome to.
Yes,
Speeder
right.
bike chase.
Proud of you, Colin.
That sounds like someone who
Following
doesn't know
behind
what it
this
is.
car and a motorcycle, and it blows up inside the tunnel, which happens with the plane and Last Crusade as well.
Yep. Yep.
You just need a flock of birds now to
Wait,
to
the
really
plane
hold it.
explodes in Last Crusade after it exits the tunnel. If it was a better reference, the Lardy's wings would have fallen off as it entered the tunnel, but they were fine upon
That would have been better.
So
Could you
if
imagine,
anything, I
like,
don't think
of-
that's
of-
actually a reference. I think that's you picking for straws.
Could you imagine them actually doing that and then having them on the speeder bike and then you see like the gunship slowly pass them like in
Slide
I would
by.
love to see shock troopers like turn and look at Ahmed Best and be like, what's
Yeah, and
happening?"
which that also threw me off because the pilots of the gunships were just plain shock troopers, like they weren't like your standard like clone.
I think
pilot.
that's just due to budget.
Yeah,
Due to budget.
FEFX didn't have the budget to make the super awesome World War II pilot clone helmets.
Oh.
Make our dreams come true of that being a realistic armor kit.
And we've seen shock troopers pilot stuff in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, that's
so it fits enough that like they
Yeah.
didn't have to spend that extra time in the production to model a full new clone that's going to have a 2-second scene in the cockpit. As much as I would love that.
I think the only
Like,
thing
you
I
guys know
wish
me,
we
but-
got was the Coruscant Guard livery on that Lardy, like from Clone Wars. Because I said this in the last podcast, but I enjoyed how they kept it as like the movie version of the Lardy. Like it had the huge like window openings on the side and
Mhm.
the bubble turrets being a constant. It didn't like make a
Yeah.
realistic version of the Clone Wars Lardy, which was nice.
Yeah.
But I do wish we kept that different livery, even though we got all the beautiful lights and reflection bits and stuff to make it feel
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And we'll definitely talk about that more because I definitely want to dive into it. But for
Back
the
to
scene,
match.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
watching
yes.
Bad Batch.
we have some of the clones that they rescued. They're back in Coruscant. They're talking. Senator Tucci walks in, and they kind of discuss of where the clones were going. Again, Hauser and them didn't really know, but as the audience we probably suspect that they're taking them to Mount Tantus.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then we find out that that Echo is in contact with the Bad Batch, and he is planning to go on for a visit to go see his family. We all know they're excited. We know Omega is super excited because she was devastated when he left. But we then get back to we cut back to Crosshair getting tortured, but we find out that he was faking his like pain and everything. And he takes a blaster. He doesn't go and stun. He pulls out, shoots the other people, and then he does stun the doctor. Now, this is a rumor. I don't think it's true at all, but I just think it's like funny to talk about. But people are saying that the doctor that he stuns is the mother of Dr. Pershing, and I think that's a stretch.
I think it's
Yeah.
a stretch too, but at the
Yeah.
same time, they're like easy dots to connect.
Yeah,
I also
but
think the time doesn't line up.
Yeah. I guess Pershing was like in his 40s during The Mandalorian, so he'd already be a
Mhm.
kid. And he
Yeah.
talks about being a kid when his mother died, but specifically his mother dies, according to him, of organ failure.
right. His mom was a doctor and a scientist too, though.
Yeah,
as well.
but
So I think
the way
that's
it
the
sounds
dot.
much more like he's saying
Yeah.
dirt over scientist.
We then have Crosshair kind of he is trying to break out. He then gets to a communication room. He tries to reach out to the Bad Batch, but before he can finish saying, hey, they're going after Omega, this poisonous gas comes in, knocks him out, kind of stuns him, and the main villain of the cloning facility has grown immune to this toxin that he made, which is that's a very
Convenient.
villain thing to
Dude,
do.
this guy's emo.
Yeah, he is.
This
He's
guy
like
watched
hardcore
Princess
trying
Bride.
to creep everyone out.
Yeah,
That's
Yes.
I'm a big fan of Princess Bride. 100%.
And I kind of
Yeah.
think they missed an opportunity here to like play on the clone genetics because like
Yeah.
okay, Karen Travis books, but
Mhm.
in those books you've got like people trying to come up with like weaponized, I don't even remember what it was, but some kind of like diseases to hit clone troopers because they all have
Yeah.
the same genetics. They totally could have done that. And I was kind of hoping, I was excited. I was like, ooh, it's gonna be that it only like the toxin only attacks clones, but
Yeah.
no,
What's
you just
the-
become immune.
What's the purpose of this guy? Because he talked to Tarkin and he was like, hey, don't decommission them. Send them to me. I have a use for them. Like, what
Yeah.
is that?
Well,
I don't know.
I think that is referring to what we saw in the 2 Coruscant episodes of where they found that clone that was wearing like the weird armor.
Mhm.
And they kind of de-cloned him in a way because they took his clone number and then they kind of wiped his memory, and then he was just like an assassin.
Yeah, no,
with-
that's
He's
a
a
really
hitman.
good point.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think maybe that's what they want to do with the Bad Batch, and
Yeah.
they wanted to turn into an elite squad of where they can control them and they won't define any orders, and it's going to go beyond of what they did with Order 66 chips. I think it's going to go further than that.
They become that stormtrooper group in the comics. That's like Imperial Bad Batch.
Yeah.
That would be wild, but
Mhm.
I
a
definitely
good
forgot
point.
about Not Stev
Yeah.
during that mid-season finale.
Also,
we
Oh.
then I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, also I was gonna say we skip far too fast past Crosshair completely after being tortured, killing everyone.
Oh,
on his
yeah, like-
way
Yeah.
to-
Not stunning.
like yeah, no, he's just like, I don't know how far it was. We skipped scenes between him getting out all the way to getting to the communications of like the main central place. He just murders everyone and gets
Yeah.
there just like badass. Like so cool. Made
Well,
me very happy.
I also
Murder.
think, yeah, I was gonna be like, okay, Star. He murdered everyone. That's
I love it
awesome.
when my
Wow.
favorite character
That's so
has
cool.
a worse moral code than the protagonist.
I mean, I'm here for a reason anyway.
Well, I think the reason why he did that though was because if there were any clones, he wouldn't have killed the clones. He probably would have stunned them, kind of like what the Bad Batch has been doing
I
for the
mean,
most
maybe.
part. I mean, but again, this is Crosshair, so
Yeah.
who knows? But we then cut back to the planet Pabu, and we see the Bad Batch has pretty much decided to stay. And they are, just helping out with the town. We see that Wrecker is very busy and he goes fishing, and I guess that's kind of reminiscent to what's going to happen later in Rebels, where we see Gregor and Rex, and they have their own fishing boat ship tank
vibe with
thing. Yeah. And I think and I love that they found peace for a hot second there. I thought that was great. And then we also see that Tech is teaching Omega how to fly, and she's very, very fast. Yeah. Well, that and yeah. How do we feel about the stance that the group is taking on the planet, being like, we're probably just gonna stay here and retire?
Fair enough.
I think it makes sense.
Travis.
Yeah, I feel like Hunter wasn't necessarily totally into staying there and retiring though.
Okay.
No, so because externally too, like the other members on the planet, Hunter was like, yeah, no, we're
Yeah.
probably not going to do this. But then to Echo, he was like, I mean, this might be the
Mhm.
best thing for us, but they're still not decided on that
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
It's all the other stuff that they feel like they have to wrap up first before they get to take their break.
Yeah.
I mean that, but also like they've been on the run from the Empire ever since Order 66.
Yeah.
And even for a second to like say, hey, let's calm down, let's vibe on the island life that, it's
Yeah.
such a huge stark change that even if Hunter sees that this is the best thing to do, or the
Yeah.
best, probably the best option that they have to just kind of escape their life, it's still such a hard transition to make, especially since they're running from Sid still.
Yeah, and that's something that they also talk about as well, because Echo's like, oh, I'm surprised that you guys aren't on Ord Mantell with Sid, and Hunter's like, well,
Yeah.
we're trying to break ties, and
That's another interesting thing too to talk about, because after Sid's last contact with them, we talked about it on this podcast, and a bunch of people have been talking about it too. Like, it seems like Sid turning them over to the Empire
Yeah.
was like where that was headed. But now they also have a reason to go back. So are those two things both going to happen, or are they just going to like forget about Sid?
I wonder if they're
And
setting
AZ,
up,
mind you.
I wonder if they're setting up Sid for a season 3 type conflict.
villain. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's going to be weird if they tie it into these last two episodes, unless they're like, hey, we have to
Yeah.
go to Sid for something.
Yeah.
And we also did not see Fee in this episode either.
We missed a lot of characters this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scourge Rex wasn't
Yeah.
I
on
know.
the Coruscant scene.
Yep.
No.
Him, Cody.
Yeah.
Cody, yeah, there's a lot of missed characters. As for the use of Sid, personally, I'm in the feeling that we're still gonna see her. I think that we're gonna get a catch the batch off guard moment where, they're recognizing that this is the place they want to be, but also there is things for them to do, especially relating to Tantus to
Yes.
get Crosshair. But they're gonna be caught off guard, and that Sid's already turned them over, and Scorch arrives, and it's gonna kind of be we already know what we have to do. But they get put on the back foot because it happens earlier than they expect, and they can't put that plan together.
Oh, I like that.
So it pays everything off that we've been building up for this entire season. Because frankly, Bad Batch season 1 was a very concise show.
Yeah.
Ends got tied up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I think we're gonna get a mirrored situation in season 2. So I think they're still gonna pay that off in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have them kind of talk about where they were planning on taking the clones, and then they find out that Crosshair is among the clones that are captured, and they're trying to decide if, saving Crosshair is the right thing to do. And they're kind of questioning of like, why did he why is he not in good terms with the Empire? Just after everything Crosshair did from the first season, trying to hunt them down and all that stuff, and then them kind of going their separate ways. Do we think that it's going to be a happy reunion for them, or do you think after they do go and save Crosshair that there's going to be resentment from a couple of them? Because I
He's
feel like
dead. I think he's gonna die. Crosshair's
Oh.
dead, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, think about
Man,
who's
just-
creating this
okay.
show.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, but listen, I was honestly trying to be hopeful for Star, but I guess Star is just throwing in the towel, just throwing it all the way.
Stars
Yeah.
accepted the same fate I have of never seeing Fixer, but like
I'm sorry, Josh.
I
honestly,
think either Crosshair or Echo are gonna die,
Both
Yeah.
of them.
or both.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And Cody.
Jeez.
and
Oh,
Cody.
Someone's
Oh,
acceptance
Echo's
stage
down.
of
The
grief.
domino's gotta fall. Let's be honest here. Like, let's
Jeez,
stop
man.
lying to ourselves.
You know that will be the meme like next week, just everywhere if Echo is the one to go, and it's going to be really really
Mhm.
sad. And also
Mhm.
don't forget that next week it's 2 episodes.
Yeah, it's two.
Yeah,
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I really think
Even
we're
more
gonna get
pain.
a lot of characters die so that not just because characters have to die to have progression, but
Yeah.
moreover,
Yeah.
characters have to die so we can see how dire the situation is for them.
Yep.
However many that is, but like if you want to see these characters salute themselves and that like devote themselves to an ideal that they're willing to die for, you got to see some of them die for it so it feels real to us as well.
As if
Yeah,
we
I,
haven't
I agree.
felt that enough already.
Yeah, I know, but I think Josh
Like-
is right though, because
No,
especially
I totally agree.
yeah, I mean, if they're
He's right.
setting up season 3 to be, and I think they're doing this, and I hope this is season 3, but if they're setting up like, okay, now the batch is sold, they're going to join Rex, they're all going to fight together and fight the Empire. I kind of wonder if they're going to kill Echo and not Crosshair, just because Echo would kind of bridge the gap between emphasizing to the batch, oh my gosh, this is a huge deal, and also Rex, where
Yep.
and Rex is already sold, but
Mhm.
you know that character, he really bridges the gap between 501st and Bad Batch, which I hope they don't
Yep.
kill Echo. Fingers crossed. But I think
Right.
he's a kid.
I have a crazy idea.
Oh, here we
Hear
go.
me out.
Oh boy.
Okay.
The season finale, they save the clones, they rescue Tantus, but Omega gets captured. And so we end on them retrieving their clone brothers, but they lose Omega. And that's so similar to season 1 where they lost Crosshair, but they had themselves. Now they saved their brothers, but they lost Omega, and that sets up for season 3.
I'm really sad that you guys aren't going to be there for the Bad Batch panel at Star Wars Celebration.
Dude, me
Because
too.
because I
I'm
remember
sad.
because I remember sitting next to most of you, and I was really glad I did, because I was just looking for all of your reactions, and it was the funniest thing.
Mhm.
So for this next season though, I don't think it's gonna come out next year. I think it's gonna come out
No.
yeah.
Year and a
Yeah, I
half,
could
2
see
years.
2 years.
Yeah.
If it's
I mean, we
if
just got
it's
a 4-month push on
2024,
this.
I will be baffled.
Like,
Same.
I mean, they technically they did do that for Bad Batch season 1
Mhm.
because it started coming out this.
Yeah, there's a quick turnaround from season 7 to Bad Batch. At least it felt like.
Right.
But also,
and then season
streaming
2
services as
yeah.
a whole are kind of pushing back their turnaround times
Yes.
Mhm.
because a lot of companies are realizing, hey, if we make it so people have content from their favorite franchise every other week, it's not going to last that long, and we'll start losing money in the long run. So
Yeah,
I-
because there's so many ideas.
both like turnaround time for actually making the show, I can't see it being a year. Also, with just how companies are starting to lay out how their streaming services operate, I can't see it being a year even more so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we then cut to the main villain talking to Grand Moff Tarkin, which we haven't seen him this season at all until now, right? Because I don't remember him. Yeah. So
No,
that's
didn't
cool.
No.
Rampart talk to him?
Yeah, I think he talked
Yeah,
about like
yeah,
Coruscant
probably he does.
or
Yep.
yeah.
Episode
Yeah.
3.
Yep, you're right. So we have him talk about, them potentially not killing the Bad Batch and taking them in, which would be very, very sad. Because how crazy it would be if they ended up like capturing some of the other members of the team, where maybe they captured Wrecker and they kind of turned him into like the new Crosshair, and then he was like going after, which that would be terrifying. And we already got like a sneak peek of that from season 1 of when his inhibitor
He
chip
doesn't
activated.
have a chip anymore. We're fine.
Right, but
Yeah.
they could find a way to make him more comply, and they could definitely turn him
Please
into
no.
like he's a tank already, but turn against them, we already saw how much damage like he did, and it was just him alone, so that would be
Yeah.
terrifying. But something in the lines of that could happen to where one of the members did get captured, and they just kind of are. To me, it feels like it's the calm before the storm. That's honestly what this episode was. It was prepping us for the scary stuff that is about to happen, and we end the episode with Crosshair on the table, and then he's just they are torturing him again.
Yeah.
And then it goes to black. So it's terrifying to think about. Something tragic is going to happen next week. But overall, I thought it was a great prep episode for us grabbing the tissues and crying next week. But yeah,
It's gonna make me sad.
It
Oh,
felt like last season almost, like jumping around
Yeah.
from the Empire to the Batch's perspective during one
Mhm.
episode. Like,
yeah.
I don't know about you guys. The episode ended. I was like, that was 30 minutes. Like the pacing was really on point. It
Yeah.
felt
Yep.
much more like last season in the balancing of perspectives where we
Yeah.
see everything kind of culminating.
Yeah.
It's a really
If-
well done episode.
It felt
I liked it a lot.
longer than 30 minutes in a good way.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't like it was like a trudge to get through. It was just like you sat there the
Yeah.
whole time so absorbed into it.
Yeah, and then it was over, and you're like, wait, no, that's it? That's all you got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
It was
a
a
fake
really
cut to
good
black
episode.
credit start. Oh, real cut to black. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I this is the first time I checked for an end credit scene, just because I was like, there's no way that's all they have.
You were also hoping that it would be Delta Squad.
Yeah,
right?
it was
Of course.
3:30 a.m.
Yeah, of
so
course.
Yeah.
of course I was delusional and hoping for Delta Squad.
Yep.
Colin.
Yeah.
Look, hey, I know you're all hoping for Deltas and Bad Batch, but at least we're getting some nods to those books in Mando.
No. Also, Crosshair feels very Darman to me, like in what he's doing with the Empire.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I
for
feel
sure.
like those books are having a grand effect on both Mandalorian culture and how the clones are being treated right now, even if it's
Yeah.
indirectly, which is great to see.
Mhm.
I am definitely excited for next week
Yeah.
because we're getting a lot of the Bad Batch. We're getting more Mando, and then we have a couple of days before Celebration. So it's like it's all leading up. It's really, really crazy to think about how much Star Wars we're getting all at once, but it's exciting at the same time.
Mhm.
For this episode, though, I thought it was a great prep episode for the season finale, and it kind of builds up the anticipation, which is also great.
For sure.
But yeah, overall, good.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say the other thing that I thought was interesting was that it's setting up for the very final episode, which is called Plan 99, goes kind of against the transmission that Crosshair sends out, where he says it's Plan 88,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
hide. And it's kind of
Yes.
setting up the idea that Plan 99 must be like bring the batch together, do the classic
Yep.
batch thing, and that gives me like,
Avengers.
Yep.
Yeah,
right.
kind of-
Exactly.
and
Yep.
like do the
Yeah.
like whole crazy bad batch thing, and it's kind of fun to have that contrasted.
What's
And
with
so I think
all-
that's kind of a foreshadowing.
Another speaking of titles, the episode of the other finale, or the title of the other finale episode is Summit, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the summit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did anyone else catch Tarkin at the end of the transmission say "See you at
Yeah.
the summit"?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because we were thinking it was going to be, Mount Tantus, but it sounds like it could be some kind of
Yep.
imperial meeting or something.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Talking about the
Mhm.
future of clone troopers
Yeah.
and how
How-
they'll be allocated as imperial property rather than
Mhm.
soldiers.
I think this is something that we talked about this season, but about them, how interesting and crazy it would be if they tried to assassinate the emperor. If the emperor's at that meeting, we could see something like that happen.
I don't know if I could see them going that far in this show.
Not
No.
this season.
I don't know. I think anything is possible. I think
What?
if
I
If-
agree.
the group wants to have Delta Squad, I think they could totally go and assassinate, try and assassinate the emperor. I'm just saying.
What I think we're most likely
Yes.
going to see at some point in the finale is we're going to see the return of Clone Wars Bad Batch animation Darth Vader.
Oh, yes,
Um,
please.
Clone Wars Darth Vader. Also, what if Plan 99 is not for getting the Bad Batch back together? It's for getting Delta Squad back together.
You are so reaching.
I
feel like all
I'm
my
reading
Indiana
as
Jones
much as you
theories
do
are
for
more
Indiana
realistic
Jones
than that.
references.
Wait,
Go on.
I mean, the only other thing I can think of is that you flip 66 on its head, you get 99.
Also, yeah, what's up with like double digit orders? 66, 88, 99.
I don't know.
Easy
Remember
to
Rule
remember.
39. Never say no to Bacta. Come on.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I
Or-
still haven't heard any of the Indiana Jones references from this Bad Batch episode. So, like, are we consenting there's none?
Star?
That's fighting
Star.
words.
Just leave
First
it.
off,
Star,
no,
why'd you have to
hang on.
bring it
Star,
up?
first off, you can't make jokes like that because you've never watched the franchise.
Exactly.
So you can't make jokes like that. Second,
Do you even Lucasfilm?
yeah. Oh man,
Do
I
you
Colin,
even
how dare you,
geologist?
gatekeep.
hang on, just
Even
someone
Yeah.
keep talking. I'll
Good
think of
question.
one. Just hang on.
Good questions all around.
Scene.
Anyway,
Colin
great
is on
episode,
screen
guys.
trying to find a reach for an Indiana Jones reference.
Yeah.
He
Great
hunkers
episode,
over his
Sigmar
phone,
Hunter.
smiling to himself, knowing that he's unable to find one, but he shall keep trying because he has 5 people on the line waiting for him to find one. He starts to lean up, smiling more to himself. His eyes begin to crinkle as he realizes he's doomed. there is not a single thing that he's gonna find.
Josh, do you have an internship with National Geographic? You haven't told
Yeah.
us about.
Yeah, juice man.
The wild Colin is in his habitat,
In a
his streamer
world.
chair. He's comfortable and yet somehow on edge, unable
Okay,
to find his holy grail.
I'm losing this week. I cannot find one. I'm
It's
so
okay,
sorry.
I've got
guys.
one. Both
wild-
of them have humans in them, and I think that's a reference. So when you have people on the screen,
The wild Colin concedes his point of an Indiana Jones reference as he presses his
Star,
eyes
we
together with his
need
hand.
you. Okay, if you want, I got two box sets of the Blu-ray edition of Indiana Jones. I can send you one.
but see now it's a point of pride. Now I
Aren't
can't
they
do it.
streaming on Netflix?
I mean, they're Lucasfilm properties, aren't they? Gonna be on-
They are on Amazon Prime, and then they were on Paramount Plus, but they're no longer. I would definitely check out the Young Indiana Jones. Actually, you know what? There is a Young Indiana Jones reference in there.
Of course, there is.
So technically, it is an Indiana Jones one. It's where they are racing the ships. They actually do something very similar when Indy is in World War One and he's learning how to fly a plane and he races someone back to the base. Just saying. Boom. There you go.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Question
You're welcome.
for you
Yes.
guys, though. Indiana
Great.
Jones isn't on Disney Plus. Also, Firefly isn't on Disney Plus, and that's a Fox property. So, what is going on?
That's because Fox property stuff still gets mostly put on Hulu.
Well, Firefly is on Disney Plus, but outside the U.S.
That's so annoying.
That's because
Regional licensing is
Hulu
a
doesn't
thing.
exist outside the US.
Well, it's on Hulu right now. Oh, I
I
don't like that answer. Still, though, bring it to Disney Plus, please.
Oh, I don't like the answer either, but it's the answer.
I know that David is one of the people that does the edits on this. David, if you're listening, you can cut the last 5 minutes if you want.
No,
to.
you can't. My National
no.
Geographic
It's
commentary
digital.
will remain for the rest of time, Colin.
But yeah, that is the episode of the Bad Batch. Now let's jump to Mando real quick. We got a bunch of great things happening there. We learn more about the
Especially
foundlings
clones.
and the Mando of the Mandalorian culture. We finally found out who rescued Grogu, How do we all feel about that? I want to hear everyone's opinion.
I'm very happy with that.
Yes.
I like Master Keller and Beck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it was Ahmed Best, and as much as a lot of people would want it to be like Quinlan Voss or Mace Windu, I think it does open the opportunity, especially with the way that the flashback sequence ended. Is Dave Filoni is working on a new live action show, and there's a chance that he's going to announce that at Star Celebration. We don't know what the show is. We know it's going to tie into the Mandalorian in some way. I think it would be great if they did a show where it took place directly after Order 66, and we saw a lot of Jedi on the run, and they end up meeting up, and we see Quinlan Voss and a couple other people, and then we learn how Grogu survived all that time. That would be a great show, and then that would lead into the events of Mandalorian and everything eventually, and then that would make sense for the big Avengers team up, because there would be some surviving Jedi, including this character that saved Grogu.
It also
would be
opens the
amazing.
door to exploring how long Grogu was kept away from the Empire before their Empire got their hands on Grogu.
Yes.
It also opens the door to seeing more clones.
Yes.
And it also opens the door for having Max Rebo having a cameo.
Oh my god.
I just want to say, Grogu looks exactly the same at 50 that he did at like 25.
That's actually not true. I could definitely tell a difference. He definitely looked cuter. I don't know how to explain it, but like he just looked more adorable.
He looked less like a raisin. And
He
therefore
was
he
maybe
looked better.
slightly smaller.
Wow. All right. just okay. Man, Grogu.
I'm just
no,
saying
he's
what you're
ugly.
afraid to say.
I will say, I gotta. Whatever officer was in charge of the clones storming the temple, right there when Grogu gets into the elevator and the elevator starts to descend, you couldn't have like reached in and just yoinked him back out of the elevator.
I wasn't there. I just
Yeah.
witnessed it.
I'm
But,
pretty sure that those clone troopers were actually stormtroopers in the first jet class, just wearing stolen armor. So
Star, how do we feel about this stuff with Order 66?
I'm gonna be 100% honest.
You didn't watch it?
Yeah, I know.
I will watch the Order 66 scene, but I have not been watching The Mandalorian.
We had it in the group chat. I asked if everyone's watched it.
Oh,
And
I
you-
meant Bad Batch.
Well, now I feel like a fool.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I just haven't been watching it.
To be
But I will
fair-
definitely watch the clone scene.
Bad
That
Batch
was-
has been continuously, in my opinion, better episodes
Yeah.
every week than Mando.
I haven't had a
That
ton
I'm-
of time. I've been studying for an exam, so I've been making time for Bad Batch, but I just haven't made time for Mandalorian.
by the way, congratulations.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
Oh yeah, congrats on being
Congratulations,
indulged.
Adulting.
I'm calling
Yeah.
you doctor now.
Yay.
Doc,
Unfortunately,
Doc
not
Star.
yet, but definitely on the way. I still have to finish writing the whole dissertation. So
So you are
a long
pre-Doctor
word.
Star?
pre-doctor.
Free
yeah.
Doctor Star. Free Doc.
You can still call me master. That's fine.
Cap,
don't know if
you
I'll
been
do that.
watching it all? Or
I also have not, but I've been finishing a giant paper, so I can make time for Bad Batch. But yeah.
Wow.
I have
I'm
exams
sorry, but-
too, but yet I'm able to find time for nerd shit.
Okay, I'm finding time for select nerd shit. Okay, yeah. Mhm.
Hey, at least you guys are making time for Bad Batch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Continuously get
superior
better
of the
episode
nerd
every
shit.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next week we have 3 episodes of Star Wars. I knew we had 2 Bad Batch, but I didn't consider we had 3 total episodes of Star Wars next week.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
also
really
really
crazy.
sad because next week is the last it is the last 2 episodes of the Bad Batch.
So sad.
We probably won't get
Tuesday
something.
is our last Bad Batch Eve.
I do want to say though, you know how I don't know if other people were feeling this, but at the beginning of this season, I was like, oh, I could see him ending this series at the end of the season. I don't feel that way anymore, and that makes me really happy.
I hope not.
I have a hunch with that. I think Bad Batch was originally written to be a 2-season show, and then with the success they got from the first season, they were like, "We'll see if we can extend it. We'll have a second storyline just ready to go, just in case we need to wrap it up." But
Yeah.
it's staying on.
I could see that being true. Also, Maka, you're 100% right. Tell
Yes.
this on the back. Also, Crosshair's only been in 3 episodes
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he'll probably be in the next two, but that's still.
He better be.
Yeah, if he's
Oh.
in the next two for sure, he's still in such a small fraction of this season's episode.
Did you do the math for it yet?
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Do you want to hear
Okay.
the number?
Yeah, please.
If
Tell me.
he's in the next two episodes, he'll be in 31% of the season. And I'm pretty
He's
sure
small.
he was
He's small.
in 9 out of 16 last, which is 56.
Yeah.
So like about 26% difference in his appearances.
Nerds. Well, there you go. Yeah, this has been fun.
It's been a ride.
Yeah. This sounds really sad. I feel Crosshair sacrifice. Yes, we were just talking about that. Yeah. Someone's
I
not going to
think
make it.
Someone's not going to make it, but I also feel like a self-sacrifice is coming too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like someone's going to have to be left behind.
Yeah.
Yep. It's probably going to be the Delta Squad. With that being said, all right,
Oh,
let's go.
you suck.
With that being said, please go follow all of these wonderful people. Here it is. Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Please go
Hey,
follow
you added
them.
the other names.
Yes, I did. It took me 14 episodes, but I finally got there. Please go follow Jake underscore. Yeah,
Yes.
underscore Hunter. Go follow Kenobin underscore around and follow Star Spangled Comet Clonin underscore around, and I'm the Captain 501. I didn't put any commas. That's me. I'm sorry. It's fine.
Who needs
please-
an Oxford comma?
Please go follow
Not
all these
Colin.
incredible people on Instagram and TikTok. And please go and follow us on Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Pod, at Stuff Pod on Twitter. We're also on Patreon. Please go follow us there at Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. Thank you for everyone that is not part of our Patreon. And then also go on our TikTok, Star Wars Stuff Podcast. We also have an email, Star Wars Stuff Podcast, gmail.com. We're also on Facebook, Star Wars Stuff Group, and Star Wars Stuff Podcast page. Please go on Apple Podcast and give us a review, and go on our Twitch, Star Wars Stuff Gaming. A lot of stuff coming our way on there, including Jedi Survivor, which is great. And then most of us will be at Star Wars Celebration next week from the pod. Josh, not the Josh on this pod, but the other Josh.
Other
and then-
Josh.
Yeah, Josh with no additions.
Yes, him, and then David, and then myself. So if you see us, we may or may not have some merch for you. So come and say hi. Again, from all of us, thank you so much for listening. May the Force be with you always.